And we're talking about doing all four, all the carpet anyways, so. All carpet,
Gonna make
we just redo all of them there. Yeah. Nice. Yeah. So I'm gonna let you know. So, yeah. I'll let you know if I'm not. My business sounds like.
You know, I noticed that you did that last time and it stayed with me. I was like, that's a good idea. Like, how long have you been on council?
I don't know.
Just figure that out.
Couple of weeks, I don't know, a minute or so. It's okay.
I liked it. Oh, that's such a great idea, because I'm always using something as like a placeholder, but it also, I
I
decided,
know.
I was like,
that's-
I was
it's no
either
big
gonna
deal.
copy you or just like, it just gives me something to do. You know, I'm like, stay, keep active, keep engaged.
Oh. Tires.
I just got rid of
I
mine
did too.
like last week.
Some kind of looking.
Okay. Welcome to the July 17th City Council meeting. Please rise for the Pledge of Allegiance.
Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America, to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you. The meeting's called to order. With the clerk, please take the roll. Beauchamp. Here. Elliott.
Here.
Goodlow. Here. Lowquist. Here. David Miller.
Here.
Monica Miller. Here. Wynn.
Here.
Thank you. There are no proclamations or awards, so the approval of the agenda is before you.
Madam Mayor, I move approval of the agenda as presented.
Second.
Motion and second to approve the agenda as presented. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Two vote aye. Opposed? Motion carries. Consent agendas before you.
Madam Mayor, I move approval of consent agenda.
Second. Motion and second to approve the consent agenda. All in favor?
Aye.
Two vote aye. Opposed? Motion carries. So we are at boards and commission appointments on page 29. So Aaron Ustra has applied for the Arts Commission. Is Aaron here?
Yeah.
If you would like to. Sure.
Ladies and gentlemen of the council, nice to see you, Mr. City Attorney, Madam City Manager, Madam Secretary. I am Alex Ayer. I am the Chairman of the Ellensburg Arts Commission. We have had a vacancy for a bit, and I was glad to see we had two really excellent applicants for it. I will introduce Erin in just 1 second. She'll have some comments of her own, but the other applicant we had for position was Weiss Bichon, and we were really excited about her applying to work with us. And we have taken an opportunity with her enthusiasm for engaging with our work to create some new tasks and a position for an unofficial position for her that's going to involve social engagement and creating content for us for the venues for part of the community, and really kind of expanding our capabilities with some not formal commission positions. So it's going to be really fun to work with her. We've already got her working on a project centered around the completion of the final bus shelter in front of the library. We're going to create some content based around that, and she's going to be in charge of developing that content. We did, however, endorse for your consideration and acceptance, Aaron Ustra is an artist and owner of New Wave Gallery, a dedicated local business owner. She is passionate about the growth and prosperity of our community. With a solid background in graphic design and marketing, she honed her skills through long-term positions with reputable companies such as Nordstrom, PicMonkey, and Shutterstock. She brings her experience as a business owner, designer, and has brought some, and she really has. She's really brought, this is pro forma, but she has really instantly brought some really great ideas to the commission already. And we are honored to welcome her as the newest member of the Ellensburg Arts Commission. I give you Aaron Ustra.
Thank you.
Hi, everybody. Thank you for having me. I'm really excited to be here. I've lived in Ellensburg for about exactly 3 years now, actually. And I am excited to see everything that the city is already doing with the arts and revitalizing the community through that. Like was just said, I own New Wave Gallery with my business partner, Fortuity Sellers, and we're really passionate about just getting involved in the community however we can. And I look forward to working with all of you.
Thank you, Erin. Council, do you have questions for Erin? Thank you. Is there any public comment?
Just add something. I just wanted to concur. As the council liaison to the Arts Commission, I worked with Alex and Kelly to conduct the interviews. And as Alex said, we were extremely pleased with both candidates, yourself, obviously the selected, and then, but I really just welcome you, I think, to the commission, but I also just wanted to express my appreciation to Alex and Kelly in terms of the conversation that we had and really looking at both applicants and really seeing value in both and trying to find a way to go forward, which is, I would say Alex touched on it, but it's a different way. It isn't the way that that any commission that I've worked in the past has worked. So I really think we're breaking some new ground. So I appreciate that. And thanks. That's all.
Thank you. Is there a motion?
Madam Mayor, I move the appointment of Erin Ustra to the Arts Commission.
Second.
Motion and second to appoint Erin Ustra to the Arts Commission. Is there discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
I too vote aye. That motion carries. Thank you. Okay. So we are at citizen comment on non-agenda issues. So this is a time for a member of the public to speak to the council for 3 minutes. Speakers are cautioned not to engage in conduct that disrupts, disturbs, or otherwise impedes the orderly conduct of the council meeting. You may not identify yourself as a candidate for elective office, and note that city council rules provide that no action will be taken by the council at this meeting where an issue is first introduced, but we can may consider it at a future meeting if you request. Is there anyone who would like to speak? Mr. Kelleher.
Pat Kelleher, 6530 Wilson Crook Road. Thank you, Madam Mayor. I'm here to talk about parking downtown. Whether it's a war plan or a traffic revision planning, plans do not survive the first contact with the enemy. The Washington State Department of Transportation had a plan to close the Evergreen Floating Bridge. And when they finally closed it, they wondered where all the traffic went. Well, the public had already made that adjustment. Well, that was not the case when they closed another section of the road, and it led to 9 hours of delay. And what is the future for downtown parking around Unity Park? There will be a loss of the interior 20 spaces, which the parking public will quickly adapt to. It is the loss of the alley parking that is my concern. I forwarded you, the 2 pictures showing, the proposed and what I had recommended in the past. The loss of the 12 alley spaces will be the tipping point for parking downtown. And the intermittent loss of alley functionality because of unloading delivery trucks will cause chaos. Council has the time to fully test the proposed plan by closing the parking now and seeing how the public adapts. Contact with the enemy will reveal a different final solution before any dirt is moved. Thank you.
Thank you. Is there anyone else who would like to speak?
Hello, good evening. My name is Jose Nolasco. I'm a market manager for T-Mobile here in Central Washington region. And I'm here joined with two of my community engagement experts, Eric and Christian. And what we're here to do is just talk about T-Mobile in Ellensburg. We recently opened our store about 2 years ago, and T-Mobile is offering so much to the community. There's an initiative that T-Mobile has launched called Smaller Market Rural Areas. And our focus is to invest in communities like Ellensburg and really bring funds and stuff that a corporation like T-Mobile can provide. So two of the things I want to discuss really quick are what we call this a hometown grant. And what a hometown grant is basically a grant that a nonprofit organization or anything that's part of the city that wants to, revamp a park or a town hall or anything like that. There's a grant that you can apply for that T-Mobile can provide, and it's up to $50,000. So anything that the city needs, there's grants that you could apply for, which is called the hometown grant. And we recently had 2 hometown grants, one in Toppenish here in Washington, that we basically updated their mural society, so their old murals that they had. So something that we just did last year in September. And then we also provided one to Moses Lake for their community center there. So just wanted to kind of provide you that information for the hometown grant. And then we also have what's called Project 10 Million, where students from K to 12th grade can apply for basically free hotspots, so free Wi-Fi at home. And anyone that's in the National Lunch School Program can apply for this and basically get up to 100 gigs a year for 5 years of free Wi-Fi. So that is mainly the 2 programs that I want to talk about today. We do have a lot of other programs that we offer for like first responders, military, stuff like that. But also just for anyone in town, we have some great partnerships as far as with the businesses that we can provide, like, things that we do just to kind of talk about our network. So our network has vastly improved with T-Mobile here in Central Washington because the amount of investment that T-Mobile has provided after the merger with Sprint. So there's just so much things that T-Mobile is doing within these small towns. And we have the Valley, we have the network, and just wanted to share that with you all today. Thank you.
Thank you, Jose. Thank you. Is there anyone else who would like to address the council? Seeing no one, we will move to item 9A, which is a resolution to approve the sale of Whitfield Triangle.
Thank you, Madam Mayor, Council, Terry Weiner, City Attorney. Just to review the history with the Whitfield Triangle, as you know, back in 1933, the city accepted a deed from the county for several parcels, most of which comprised Reed Park, but one of those parcels was also the Whitfield Triangle up on Alder near just above 4th. That property was never developed into park property, and here we are 90 years later, and we're ready to sell the property. It was we went through a surplus process last year, if you'll remember, finally surplused it in August of last year. There were some conditions on that surplus, which we eventually put into the advertisement for the property through our licensed real estate broker. That property was advertised for sale starting a few months back. We had several interested parties, and eventually we had negotiations with one party in particular listed in the resolution, Mr. Kastner and Ms. Kolmatova. And those negotiations were successful. There was a period for them to basically investigate the property and determine whether it was feasible, and that period has passed. So what we're bringing to you tonight is the resolution to approve that sale. The sale amount is $125,000, which is equal to or exceeds our appraisal. So we're quite pleased with that, excuse me, with that offer. And an additional condition of the sale is that the buyers will actually remove the sprinkler system that's in there at their cost so that the city doesn't have to deal with that. It will stay in until the sale is complete. And then at some point, they will remove that system. So all the conditions that were in the resolution that was passed for surplus, you remember last year, we took out one of those conditions, which was the construction had to be completed within a year of sale, but the others remain so that the height restriction will still be there. And obviously, both because of the resolution and because of the zoning, it's limited to a single family residence. So with that, staff is recommending that council adopt resolution 2023-18 to approve the sale. And I am available to answer any questions you might have.
First, is there anyone from the public who would like to comment on this issue?
I'm sorry, Madam Mayor, I did forget one detail, which is in the original surplus resolution last year, council directed that the funds from the sale be used for development of Reed Park. And so that obviously will occur upon receipt of the sale funds.
Thank you. Mr. Keller.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. Pat Kelleher, 6530 Wilson Creek Road. I am requesting that the proceeds of the sale of the triangle be used at Reed Park in the construction of the sidewalk from the Legion to the water tower. This will provide ADA parking and access for the first time at Reed Park. And when events are held at the Legion, honoring our past and present veterans, all pedestrian visitors will no longer have to walk down the middle of Craig Avenue, but can safely use a sidewalk to get to the event. In the past, last 2 weeks ago, you adopted into your plan the ADA spaces around the city, specifically designated, throughout the city. There's not one spot at Reed Park. It kind of sends a message to the public. If you don't have a park with ADA parking, what message are we sending? The sidewalk from the Legion to the water tower was included in all plans of the update of Reed Park in some version. The sidewalk, to my knowledge, is not opposed by any entity. When you put the sidewalk in and by allowing pull-in parking closer to the Legion, you would have no net loss to the Legion themselves of the parking. So this would be a win-win for everybody. The money's there. The sidewalk itself was not bid, but estimated in the $88,000 range. So we're very close to getting that done. I think it would be an excellent use of the funds, and also be a very positive step in moving forward on Reed Park. Thank you.
Thank you. Okay. Council, do you have any questions for City Attorney or Mr. Kelleher? Okay. Is there a motion?
Madam Mayor, I move resolution 2023-18.
Second.
Motion and second to adopt resolution 2023-18, approving the sale of Whitfield Triangle and authorizing the city manager to execute any documents required to complete the sale in a substantially similar form to Exhibit 1. Is there any discussion?
I just have a question about the money going to Parks and Rec, will there be a process to decide how that will be used at Reed Park?
There will be a process to decide how that will be used at Reed Park. And so we don't have a master plan. When we do have a master plan, we'll talk about phasing and council would need to approve the expenditure for any investments in the park.
Thanks.
Any other discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
And two vote aye, opposed? That motion carries. Thank you. So item 11A, page 59, the origin pay order form and SOW. Asset.
Good evening, Madam Mayor and Council. Keith Bassett with the city's Finance Department. The requested approval before you this evening stems from the city's utility billing customer information system software replacement project, which began in 2021 with a request for proposals and ultimately led to the selection of Origin Smart City as the successful proposal in 2022. Implementation began last year and is ongoing, and the new system is scheduled to go live at the end of October 2023. One of the core functionalities of any utility billing system is the ability to take customer payments. And the city currently accepts a variety of payment types across a range of transaction methods. In league with most businesses and governments, the city depends on third-party payment processors to facilitate payments with payment cards such as credit cards and debit cards or ACH e-check payments. The first statement of work for the utility billing system maintained the city's current payment processor. However, within the last few months, it became clear the current vendor was unable to meet the city's expected timeline for the utility billing system. As you know, we are prioritizing work on this project, the impact to customers and maintaining high quality customer service that our customers expect is at the forefront. And the city needed to identify a path to change payment processors. The evolving circumstances led the city to pursue adding Origin Pay payment processor as the payment processor with the Smart City implementation through the end of the current subscription period, concluding December 2026. And that's the statement of work in front of you this evening. The city processes about 130,000 utility payment transactions each year. In implementing Origin Pay will consolidate utility billing and payment processing functionality within one vendor's product line, which would be anticipated to reduce complexity and mitigate risk. Origin Pay will enable customers to continue to use the payment method and venue that they're accustomed to using, whether it's in person at City Hall with cash or check, IVR, or with a customer service representative over the phone, online from their mobile device. And the payment methods would remain payment cards, ACH, e-check, cash, regular check. Every customer payment incurs costs for the city, whether it's the staff time at the front counter or over the phone, the cost of preparing deposits and transmittals in the back office, transaction costs for processing payments with a third-party payment processor, such as credit card fees. And each payment method has different costs depending on the processing specifics, whether it's a transaction with significant staff time or a hefty third-party payment fee, and some transactions would have both. All of these costs are currently factored into utility rates through the cost of service analysis process as a small part of the overall costs of providing utility services. This means that every customer pays costs of accepting payment methods subject to significant processing fees, such as with payment cards. And the benefits of the high cost payment methods substantially accrue to the customer making the payment in the form of cash back or rewards points at times. Consistent with how these costs are treated by other departments of the city, The Origin Pay agreement would implement a third-party convenience fee on certain payment transaction methods. For example, the payment card processing fee would be 2.5% of the transaction amount plus 75 cents for all payments made with a payment card, whether it's online, over the phone, IVR, in person at City Hall. The ACH e-check processing fee would be 50 cents per payment for payments up to $1,000 and 95 cents plus 0.01% of transaction amount for payments $1,000 or greater. For customers enrolled in auto pay and paperless billing, this would not be charged as a convenience fee. And this would be designed to incentivize customers to choose a payment method that not only has a low processing fee, but also has reduced customer service staff time. In addition to the in addition to the convenience fees paid by customers, the ACH e-check processing fee for auto pay paperless customers, utility rates would continue to pay for underlying technology costs of the ability to receive the wide variety of transaction types. For example, provisioning phone lines for IVR. Based on a survey of payments received from customers receiving low-income senior and disabled citizens special utility rate-based bills from June 1st to July 10th, approximately 57% of applicable payments were made with the current payment processor. However, due to limitations of data collection of the current utility billing system, the split between each method isn't available. Low income and otherwise cost sensitive customers may choose a payment method that does not incur a convenience fee, or they could choose to pay a convenience fee to use a higher cost payment method. As part of the rollout of Origin Smart City later this year, city staff will be working with customers and communicating about the upcoming changes, including the impact of convenience fees. And during the COVID-19 pandemic, staff worked with many customers to transition from in-person cash or check payments to electronic payments. And staff anticipates a similar level of involvement to help customers become accustomed to the new customer-facing portal and set up their chosen payment methods. Costs of the agreement paid by the city and indirectly by by ratepayers are dependent upon the number and amount of payment transactions that are incurred through each method. Although it's variable depending on behavior of customers, a ballpark estimate of annual fees the city would pay is $50,000 a year. The city costs are anticipated to be smaller amount relative to the current costs, which includes the payment processing transaction fees, which were approximately $290,000 in 2022. This reduction in rate-based costs would moderate upward rate pressure to some degree as part of a subsequent cost of services analysis for each of the utilities, and utility customers choosing more expensive payment methods subject to the new convenience fee would incur the additional cost. Any staff time savings due to customers choosing less time intensive method would be redirected to other customer service tasks. As part of changing payment processors, there will be other necessary agreements to enable use of services and technology. Essentially, each processor wants to have a separate standalone agreement in place. The one item known so far is the submitter merchant payment processing instructions and guidelines agreement with Chase Merchant Services, which will be similar to the version attached in the agenda report. Staff would suggest a motion to approve the city manager executing the Origin Pay order form and SOW as presented or in a substantially similar form, and sign other necessary agreements to implement Origin Pay for utility billing system payment processor. May I answer any questions?
Questions for Mr. Bassett?
In terms of implementation, is every customer going to have to redo their payment process? Or are you just going to roll over?
That's
Is
an
that-
excellent question.
Okay.
We are working to implement whatever the most streamlined processes for our customers. And some of that's dependent upon our current vendor in addition to our future vendor. And so we are still tracking down exactly what the conversion steps will be.
Okay.
But everybody will be using a different website to access their utility bill and utility information once we go live.
Thanks.
I had a question, just on the payment card issue, I get it, it's Visa, MasterCard and all that. Is there any distinction between a debit card and a credit card? If someone uses their debit card for ordinary, are they still hit with that fee? There's no.
Yes, so for this agreement, they're all combined together as payment cards.
Okay.
Whether it's a debit card or a credit card.
Okay. Yeah, I thought that might be the case. Thank you.
So we currently, the city is absorbing the cost of these fees. These are not new fees. So this is an opportunity for us to not pay those fees and to transfer that cost to the consumer.
The payment processing portion associated with the payment transaction.
Okay, you also mentioned that this is consistent with other transactions in the city to add a convenience fee. Which services are those?
I believe any of our payment card transactions are currently subject to a convenience fee with the exception of utility payments. For example, community development, it's a 3% convenience fee. Public works and utilities and energy services for permits. Those are also subject to the 3% convenience fee.
Library
Let's clear-
funds?
Clarify, that's only if you use a credit card, credit or debit card.
Correct.
We don't have library fines. Public service announcement, we don't have library fines.
So I guess I'd just like to follow up on that. When you talk about transferring these fees back to the customers who are generating the cost for the city, we're already paying it. We're using different money to pay those fees. So I just want to make sure that everybody understands whether we spend the money upfront for the people who use the convenience or whether we have everybody pay into that fund to offset those fees. The public is still paying those fees regardless. It just comes from all ratepayers rather than the payers who are choosing to use the convenience of the credit cards. We're just transferring the cost to all ratepayers.
Is this
Current system.
part of the discussion or?
Well, yeah. So are there any further questions?
So just a self-interest here. Okay, so the e-check, so full disclosure, sometimes when I pay my utility bill, I go through my bank and I just do a bill pay, which is weird. Sometimes I know they actually print a check and mail it to some vendors. Sometimes it's an electronic transfer. I think in the city's case, it's electronic because it's processed within like 2 days. That would be considered an e-check, right? So I'm paying a convenience fee for that, I assume.
That's a great question. I
mean, you know,
understand there are a number of payment channels.
Yeah.
The bank initiated, I would need to check.
Yeah, what I was thinking was I need to look at my monthly bill because it's probably on there. I just was trying to. So it gives me an incentive to walk over to the Dropbox and put my paper check in there. Even I have a checkbook that's probably 20 years old because I write that many checks now, but it still makes sense, right?
But auto pay through an ACH is the least staff time,
Right.
least cost to the city.
Yeah, and my understanding, and this is probably more discussion, maybe. I was thinking of the incentivizing and promoting to the customers that there are low cost options. I mean, that's part of the plan too.
Yeah. Is there anyone from the public who would like to comment on this issue? Seeing no one, is there just a motion?
Madam Mayor, I move to approve the city manager executing the origin pay order form and SOW as presented or in substantially similar form and sign other necessary agreements to implement Origin Pay for utility billing system payment processor.
Second.
Motion and second to approve the city manager executing the Origin Pay order form and SOW as presented or in substantially similar form and sign other necessary agreements to implement Origin Pay for utility billing system payment processor. Is there discussion?
Well, I think,
Yeah, we kind of.
yeah, I think we've already done, sorry, I got a line there in sequence, but no, I think my understanding of this is that we're trying not only to incentivize lower cost processing options for the utility customers. And my understanding is that there'll be some promotional work done within the department to make that abundantly clear to the ratepayers.
Right.
And then, yeah, I think ideally, it would drive costs down for the consumer, so, and for the city.
Yeah, and ultimately, I think to Rich's point, there's a fairness issue of whether if I am paying for those who use credit cards through my rates, or shall we just let them pay their own what they incur because they choose to use a credit card? So, any further discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
I too vote aye. Opposed. Motion carries. You and item 11B is an introduction of the 2023 comprehensive plan docket list.
Nice job making that interesting.
Good evening, council members, Madam Mayor, Jeremy Johnston, Community Development Planning Manager for the record. For you this evening are the 2023 proposed docket list for the annual docket cycle. Under the requirements of the State Growth Management Act, the city is allowed to amend its comprehensive plan one time each year. Ellensburg City Code specifies the formal comprehensive plan update process, which allows for amendments to be proposed by any member of the community, city council member, city board or commission, or city staff. Per Ellensburg City Code, Council has set their second meeting in July, this meeting, for the docketing of proposed amendments to the comprehensive plan. To be clear, staff is just asking for approval of the list or individual docket items. Staff received 5 proposed amendments to the comprehensive plan for council consideration. I will summarize these amendments briefly. The first amendment, proposal 23-01, was submitted by Community Development Department to update the 6-year capital improvement plan. These are updated every year as an appendix to the comprehensive plan. The plans are still in development and will be updated prior to the next review by the city council. Staff recommends docketing this item in order to comply with the state GMA requirements. The second item, 23-02, was sponsored by Mayor Nancy Lilquist and proposed by the Community Development Department to update the comprehensive plan to conclude a conversion table indicating appropriate zoning options for each future land use designation. Staff feels that this will be helpful not only for the public in terms of transparency for which future land use designations are conducive to specific zoning designations. I think this also would be helpful for staff as our comprehensive plan is a little ambiguous in terms of where these specific zones land within these future land use designations. So staff is recommending docketing this item in order to provide more guidance for rezone and annexation applications. Next proposal, 2303, was submitted by Solar Dollar LLC. This would eliminate or reroute a future minor collector roadway impacting 3 parcels owned by the applicant. The proposal would amend the comprehensive plan roadway functional classification map to ensure it will not impact these parcels. Staff did have discussions with Public Works on this proposal, and there seems to be an adequate solution here. So staff is recommending docketing this item to address the mapping conflict and reflect a more accurate representation of the city of Ellensburg's future transportation plan. The fourth item, this was submitted by Randy and Dan Jensen. The proposal requests an amendment to the future land use map for 4 parcels located along Vantage Highway. Parcels are currently within the community mixed use future land use designation. The applicant is seeking an industrial heavy land use designation. Staff recommends docketing this item to determine if the new future land use designation is appropriate for these parcels. And the fifth and final proposed item was submitted by the Community Development Department as a continuation of docket item 22-03. This item was a proposal to update the economic development chapter of the comprehensive plan. and the proposal was not completed in 2022, so it was pushed forward to 2023. Staff is recommending renewing this docket item as it was referred to council in this year's docket cycle. Those are the 5 items that are in this year's proposal. Staff is seeking approval of the docket list to move forward in the 2023 docket cycle.
Council, other questions for Mr. Johnston?
I had one question, just a clarification on, sorry. O2, I believe it is. Oh, yeah. I get the idea with the conversion table, but I was trying to remember, and I didn't look it up, but in my recollection is that in the comprehensive plan, and it could be in the form of land use designation tables or the mapping itself with the legend, key, et cetera. There's always an implementing zone table, it seems like. And so essentially, whatever the comp plan designation is, there might be 3, 4 or more, 1 sometimes, zones that are considered consistent with the comp plan, right? So if it's comp plan designation A, then there might be an implementing zone 1, 2, or 3, whatever. My question is whether this conversion table is intended to replace that, or is it intended to make it better or more understandable?
So I've gone through the comprehensive plan, and granted, I've been here since March, but I did not see any such table in our comprehensive plan. When I reviewed the section, what I found was our zoning regulations speak to this. So when you go into the specific zones in Title 15, there will be, it'll list each zone, describe the general characteristics of that zone, and then at the bottom of each zone, it will state which future land use designations might be appropriate for that zone.
When you say land use designation, what is that? A comp plan designation?
Yeah,
or a
the
zone?
the future land use
So it's
designation.
back where you're looking zoning back. to
Yeah,
the-
you sort of, so
Okay.
it's set up, and it's a little ambiguous because it will, there's
Okay.
certain zones that will state
Sure.
that'll specify the future land use designation that's appropriate, but there are other zones or there are other sections under there that will call out specific characteristics that allows for quite a bit of ambiguity
Yeah,
in
I
there, and I
get-
think
I
it
get that,
confuses
yeah.
people. So it seemed like this was having just something that's clear in black and white that states
Yeah.
what zones are appropriate, what zones you could potentially apply for under a specific future land use, just seemed to make sense.
Yeah, and it could be that I know the implementing quote unquote, implementing zone designation was specifically intended to ensure consistency between future zoning and comp plan land use designations. It may have been scrubbed some time ago in some of our updates, but the intent is the same. Your zoning has to be consistent with your comp plan. It's not the other way around, right?
Yeah, and I think it
Right.
makes sense to have a table like this will definitely help
Okay.
clarify that.
I just want to make sure I was getting it. So thanks. That helps. Appreciate that.
Is there any other questions? So I have a question about the Jensen proposal.
Sure.
So heavy industrial includes kinds of uses that could have hazardous materials.
Sure.
Could have smells and noise. How will impacts to the trail be mitigated at the time of development? So there's a state park trail adjacent to that property. Is there something when we go to development that would mitigate impacts?
So that would
Okay.
essentially be determined by the specific use being proposed. So there'll be certain uses in the heavy industrial zone. You're going to have permitted uses that wouldn't be outright permitted in other zones because of those externalities. So there will also be certain uses within a heavy industrial zone that will require, for example, a conditional use review or a SEPA review. When those reviews are required, that allows us an opportunity to deal with those externalities with conditions. That being said, as I said, the heavy industrial zoning does permit certain uses that could have some potential externalities that may not be mitigated through a land use process. It may be outright permitted uses.
Okay.
That's going to follow into that.
Sure.
So if I understand, at this point, we're not as council, we're not being asked to endorse heavy industrial. We're being asked to docket this proposal so it can be evaluated both by staff, I assume, but also planning commission.
Correct.
And part of that process may come back that it's not recommended, right? It hasn't. been
That's
determined,
entirely possible,
right?
yes.
So we're not committed really at this point.
No,
except to
none of these
examine.
items are we asking for commitment, just to
Right.
move the list forward. Staff will do a review of these, present those to planning commission as well as council and then council. will make the decision.
Yeah, so another related question, so in the evaluation process that might occur, say, between the planning commission on this, do they have, within the confines of the docketing, do they have any flexibility to say, well, you know, upon further review or consideration, we aren't crazy about heavy industrial, but we might like medium or something different, or is it just exactly this or nothing? Yes or no? I mean,
So this is what the application is, the applicant is proposing. So I think we move that forward on its merits. And that being said, I don't know of anything specifically that would prevent planning commission for putting forth a recommendation like that. But that could be entirely inconsistent with what the applicant wants. So that might be a
may not be
conversation.
interested, right? I get that. Yeah. Okay, that's excellent. Thank you.
Okay. Is there anyone from the public who would like to speak to this issue? No one? Council. I think it might be best to take these one at a time. We can, or if you want to try it.
I guess that would be a question I'd have for the attorney. Is it essential that they be dealt with individually, or could they be moved forward as a group of the council?
If, well, it can move forward as a group, yes.
You
Assuming
can do
that.
what you want, but I might vote no.
Oh, I
because
see.
want
I was trying to
vote
put it
on time.
diplomatically,
Okay,
yes.
I didn't pick up on that subtle little hint, so that's good.
Just-
Let's do it. Let's do that.
Just saying, that's
Great. Give us some options.
Did you mention economic development?
Uh, he did, but if you would like to
Yeah,
ask a
no.
question about it.
I couldn't remember, but now I do.
Okay, so would we start with a motion?
We need a motion.
Okay, so we'd start with move to approve proposal 23-01 for docketing during the 2023 annual comp plan amendment process.
Second.
Motion and second to docket 2301. Is there discussion on that one? All in favor?
Aye.
I too vote aye. Opposed? Motion carries.
Move to approved proposal 23-02 for docketing during the 2023 annual comp plan amendment process.
Second.
Motion and second to docket proposal 2302. Is there discussion? And I just want to say what you described, David, is what is proposed, a table that
Table, yeah.
aligns the land use designation with the zoning.
Yeah.
And this came because I went down my rabbit hole about trying to get a grocery up
Mm.
north,
No, you're not.
and I couldn't
Yeah.
figure out what zones were appropriate in that urban neighborhood land use
Yeah.
designation, and
Okay,
I couldn't find it.
I said, but maybe we had two, I'm not sure. Yeah. Okay.
So all in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
I too vote aye. Opposed? Motion carries.
I'm on a roll. Move to approve proposal 23-03 for docketing during the 2023 annual comp plan amendment process.
Motion and second to docket proposal 2303. Discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
I too vote aye. Opposed? Motion carries.
Move to approve proposal 23-04 for docketing during the 2023 annual comp plan amendment process.
Second.
Motion and second to docket proposal 2304. Discussion?
Yeah, I have the same concerns, but I think that in the docketing process and in the conversation, we can collect information and make a decision. Collectively, we are hearing that we are short on industrial land. And those impacts are very similar, albeit not necessarily adjacent to a heavily traveled trail. So I have the same concerns, but I want to see the information, and this is the way to see the information.
I understand. Yeah, I agree. We need more heavy industrial in town. I just don't think next to a state park is the appropriate place for it. That said, I wouldn't mind seeing a more comprehensive study of where would be a more appropriate place, but I don't think that our docketing process allows for that. So I mean, that's not what would happen in the process of looking at this particular item. So I would support a more general study of where should we put more in heavy industrial in town. That I can't picture putting heavy industrial next to a state park.
I would just add, I've said it before, but my instinct on this is we need to lean heavily on the determination that has yet to be made. We need to know whether it's appropriate. I share the same concerns for other reasons, but I feel like it deserves some evaluation. It may be discarded at some point, but without.
Yeah, I just don't know why we would need to put the effort into that evaluation if we have concerns. So,
Well, but I guess
but-
my response would be, I
Yep.
don't know if we can mitigate those concerns and we won't know until we have a better grasp of what's possible. So. Yeah.
so all in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Opposed?
No,
Aye. Or no, do I say no then?
I counted 3-3. Did everyone? So,
Aye.
so is it 4 ayes to 3 noes? Okay, motion passes.
Move to approve proposal 23-05 for docketing during the 2023 annual comp plan amendment process.
Second.
Motion and second to docket proposal 2305. Any discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. Okay. Everyone. Item 11C, this is a letter of mutual partnership between Kittitas County, cities, organizations to implement the strategies of the Kittitas County Economic Development Strategic Plan. Vandenberg.
Do you want to shrink it? Oh, that guy there. Thank you. Good evening, Kelly Vandenberg with the City of Ellensburg. I'm the Arts and Economic Development Manager. And tonight I want to talk to you about the letter of mutual partnership. We recognize that we are working together to address the increased pressures from the countywide growth and changing economic conditions. And over the course of the last year and a half, our community has participated in creating the Kittitas County Economic Development Strategic Plan. That engagement include interviews and roundtable discussion, a 24-member steering committee, workshops led by economic development teams that led us through discovery, opportunity, and defined our strategic plan. That plan consists of 5 economic development goals: collaboration, bringing our team together to lift the work; economic resilience, creating access, tools, and opportunities to strengthen our workforce and our community; a balanced growth, a dynamic, active approach to managing the growth of our county and our communities to keep them appealing for everyone; community investment, meeting current and future needs of our communities through developing our infrastructure; and finally, preservation, keeping our values, our legacies, and our resources for future generations. As a group, we are moving forward with the implementation phase of our strategic plan. This involves strengthening our partnerships and identifying who within the individual organizations will be moving the work forward to completion. That is the intent of the letter of mutual partnership between Kittitas County, cities, and organizations. We are seeking to reaffirm our commitment to work collaboratively and to address the shared challenges of our region, creating a united front that will increase and strengthen our impact. At this time, I would ask that council authorize Mayor Lillquist to sign the letter of mutual partnership between county, cities, and organizations with regards to the Kittitas County Economic Development Strategic Plan. Any questions?
Questions for Ms. Vandenberg? Seeing none, is there any public comment? Seeing none, is there a motion?
Motion.
Jennifer Lubanski. I was just looking and there were two things on here that I didn't see on here that I didn't know if we needed to include. And that was, is Vantage, should Vantage be included? And then I didn't see the Chamber of Commerce as someone to sign.
Madam Mayor, just as a point, Vantage is not incorporated.
Yeah, Vantage doesn't have a
Okay.
city structure. And I thought
Yes, County Chamber is.
Kittitas County Chamber of Commerce
Oh.
is on the list, yes.
Madam Mayor, I move to authorize the mayor to sign the letter of mutual partnership between the county, cities, and organizations with regards to the Kittitas County Economic Development Strategic Plan.
Second.
Motion and second to authorize the mayor to sign the letter of mutual partnership between the county, cities, and organizations with regards to Kittitas County Economic Development Strategic Plan. Is there any discussion? Okay, just thank you for getting this moving forward. Yes.
We're pausing.
That was
Appreciate
my
the moment.
discussion. All in favor?
Aye.
I too vote aye. Opposed. Motion carries.
Yes, thank you, everyone.
Okay. So any ordinances for me to mess up the reading?
Oh.
That's great. So we are at manager's report.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. I'm Heidi Barron Sternaway, City Manager. In addition to the items that are in the manager's report in writing, just want to call out a couple others. And that is the Catherine Park proposal that was brought to us by Habitat for Humanity to do a demonstration cottage development on the former Catherine Park property. There's been some discussion about what the status of that is. As you probably know, the Habitat actually had a few staffing changes. We might be the initiator of that. And so they've actually hired a couple new individuals that are looking at the project. Because of the wetlands on the property, they want to look at the impacts to that and before they bring back a new proposal. So we'll be working with them and the Affordable Housing Commission to bring back a proposal. And I know we have a number of neighbors that are curious about that, but they have not backed out. There's definitely interest and we'll work with them to move that project forward and get that back. So
Can I ask a question related to affordable housing or should I wait?
you're welcome to, Madam Mayor.
So my interest is, I know all of the different and levels of affordable housing projects that we're either partnering or endorsing or trying to stay out of the way of. But I also know that we've lost some affordable housing with the mobile home park that is closed. And I guess, is anybody tracking like overall numbers of affordable housing units in the community? And can we see where those trend lines are going as a reporting metric?
Sure. Yes is the answer to that. And so we do, through our housing action plan, we had an analysis done and then we have a goal to continue to update those numbers as we move on. And retaining that affordable housing was certainly one of the considerations because some of those units age out over time as well. So keeping an eye on those is part of our staff's priorities.
Thank you.
So if I remember right, the number was, there was 850 something units, 50% of which aged out by 2030. So
I think that's in the ballpark. Yes. That was impressive. Yes, so
I
we'll
have read it
continue to watch
recently.
those numbers.
Recall.
Super. And in addition to that, we launched 2 surveys this last week with our sustainability and energy plan. We launched a community survey. All of the customers in our system, utility system, on their bills, they will receive a QR code that links them to that. We'll also be doing some outward advertising in the newspaper. So folks will have easy links to get to that survey. We encourage you to do that. It takes between 5 and 10 minutes to complete the survey. Really important that we get some really great engagement across the community.
And
And-
Heidi, just, there's a plan for folks who aren't digital as well?
We do have some options for folks that aren't digital at this point. I think we have some printed surveys. So yes. Yes, you can contact City Hall and we'll connect you.
Thanks.
And then Rotary Park Master Plan, also a survey was released this last week and we're getting some notices out, especially to folks in West Ellensburg about that master plan. And just a reminder that it actually establishes a new connection route through Anderson Road. So it includes the idea of the master plan update was to add the field house into the park. And we also heard from council that there was an interest and from some in the community of adding the railroad as an option. So that shows up in 2 of those master plan options for Rotary Park as well. So please take some time to look at those options. And there's a very simple survey that's involved in that. And one other reminder that August 1st, we won't have a meeting before that, is National Night Out. And so at Veterans Memorial Park, good community celebration, you can learn all about our public safety. And you actually get a free meal as well. And you might see lots of familiar faces that night. And I believe it starts at about 5:30 again at Veterans Memorial Park. It is free to the public. And just a reminder to Madam Mayor, we do have an executive session. We'll ask for 5 minutes for the executive session. There won't be any action after that. And that's all I have.
And the topic or is it in here?
It's in your, under the
Got
exec
it.
session. Yep.
Thank you.
Quick question, sorry. I was too busy writing down to listen. I apologize. National Night Out, is that going to be held over at Memorial Park again?
That's correct.
Same as
Veterans
last year?
Memorial Park,
Okay.
5:30, August 1st.
Let's make a comment on. I would like to offer kudos to Keely Murphy Pickerel for her idea to install the poetry pole and wind farm at Whipple Park. I think that's a great idea. Appreciate that.
And your item number 2 that we were attending earlier this evening, the 100th anniversary mural, that was quite a nice event. Appreciate the artist coming back. It's nice ribbon cutting.
Okay, council member reports. Sarah.
Okay, so for affordable housing, we had a joint study session with the Planning Commission and it was amazing. It was just a roundtable kind of discussion, bringing a lot of incredible people in that room, putting their ideas out to help Dan and Jeremy move forward with their plans to what do you call it, strategic plans for affordable housing and homelessness and all sorts of things that are kind of troubling our community right now. So it was a very productive, and everybody was on board with making that maybe a semi-annual kind of thing, bringing those 2 entities together because they just are so closely related. So that was very good. I had coffee with council with Councilmember David Miller, and it was very lovely. It was a beautiful day over in the Rotary Pavilion. Not a lot of participation from the community, but the people that did show up, we had some great conversations, a lot of it around Catherine Park and the streeteries. They seem to be kind of the hot topics, both right up on my wheelhouse there. And then I was very disappointed to have missed the state representatives evening. I heard that was a very successful, but I couldn't get out of work. I got to talk to somebody about that. Yeah, and then the Rotary had their their crab fundraiser, and this year they supported CASA with their funds that they raised, and it was a great event, very well put together. Crab was delicious. Yes, so that's where I am at.
Thank you. Rich?
So KitCom meeting last week, again, primary issues, staffing, infrastructure and operational funding moving forward. So all of those, well, staffing is not really going to come before council, but the other two issues are going to become before council potentially for some support or endorsement and ultimately the voters in the community. We've formed a citizen advisory group to look at the operational and capital funding plans moving forward. And so that is forming. And if anybody still has interest, they can still contact KitCom for that. I attended on the other side for the planning commission meeting. So, and then we have COG and centerviews this week. That's it. Oh, EMS this week too.
Okay, Nancy?
Met with the housing homeless, county housing and homeless and housing committee. We are working on a 5-year rewrite or update to the 10-year plan, which the state's made a 5-year plan. So we have to do it this year. That was a joke. I mean, it was the truth, but it was a joke.
It loses
And-
something when you have to tell us it was a joke, right?
Two for the price of one.
And the DEI Commission is moving along. We are planning another retreat in August. Looking forward to the projects and things we want to do next year, and looking forward to that conversation.
Great. David?
Let's see, pretty light. PTAC meeting, we had actually it was a special meeting and we basically moved forward something that was on our consent tonight. So we've already approved that. So it's just basically another cabulance re-up on the agreement. And then coffee with council, as Sarah mentioned, and lightly attended, but good conversations. We had people there until the end. So but I wanted to thank Cindy, did an excellent job setting it up and arranging for the coffee and all that. And then between Sarah and Cindy, I just had to kind of stand and they were carrying it was a good conversation. I did very little. I just mostly listened, and which is good. That's kind of what we're supposed to do, I think. So with great conversationalists like that, I just have to just soak it in. So that's all.
Monica?
There continues to be a lot of COAs for Landmarks and Design Commission, Certificate of Appropriateness. Is that the plural word for that? Which I think signifies a lot of great activity happening downtown. So both in business development, in terms of businesses making improvements to their spaces, including 301, Red Pickle, and the Frontier. In addition, the Cadwell Building, where the Kittitas County Historical Museum is launching, I think, their first phase of many phases of renovating this very important building and home of our cultural assets. And I believe that there is a kickoff to that coming up, but I forgot that date, sorry. But look for that. There are also a couple of murals that are coming up. One is the restoration of one on the Kleinberg building, and then a new Ellensburg mural that is going on Pine and Forest Street. On the side of the Blue Rock Saloon. Yeah.
Did they get that settled? I mean, did it? It's a done deal now.
Well, the COA was approved by Landmarks and Design, and I believe it was endorsed by the Arts Commission. Sometimes I get muddy at what the next step is,
The
Yeah.
but
For the-
so
the
far, so good.
property owner.
Yeah, they're waiting for
Oh.
that, which was I heard was forthcoming. So lots to look for in downtown Ellensburg.
Adam?
Pretty light one for me. I attended the state representative meeting here at the chambers. The ribbon cutting ceremony earlier today, and most of my meetings actually coming up this week on Wednesday.
Okay. I attended a CETA Low Income Energy Assistance Workshop via Zoom. The folks in Olympia trying to figure out how to do a statewide assistance program. And there were a lot of good comments from from folks. I also attended the legislative town hall, which I'm glad I'm not a legislator. I just say. And an airport advisory committee meeting, and I did 2 interviews, one Apple Valley News for the mural, and the other for the Daily Record for affordable housing, which is why I have some statistics on the top of my mind. With that, we are adjourned to executive session, or we don't adjourn, we just go. We are
Be
leaving.
5 minutes. And if you could note the reason for the executive session for the
Yes.
minutes.
So this is per RCW 42.30.1101I to discuss with legal counsel representing the agency matters relating to agency enforcement actions or to discuss litigation or potential litigation.
That's sufficient.
Yeah, is that enough? 5 minutes. Sure. Swag.
I was going to ask
Thank
the
you.
attorney if we were legally able to accept.
Public, thank you.
No issues.
You guys have a nice evening.
Thank you. Thanks for sitting through our meeting, by the way.
Just so you could give us some stuff.
When you pack them up, I'll take you.
Yeah, there's information about. There's information in there. Perfect, thanks for coming. Thank you. Thank you.
There being no further business, we are adjourned.